is the political show.
Hey, and welcome to the Political Show right here on Active FM, where radio has never been better. I'm your girl Cynthia, but you know you can call me Gix. And with me in studio we have
Gavin Inston.
Pastor Gavin Enslin and
The Black Knight.
the Black Knight, right here on the Political Show, where Christ politics is
Hot politics.
hot politics. And this week's hot politics, we are looking at a question. I mean, it should be simple to answer, but the question is, do you need IDs to register to vote or to vote? Do you need IDs to vote? Like, is that a question that needs to come up? Yes, unfortunately, because we live in that type of society. And we are looking specifically at the SAVE Act. Pastor Gav, do you want to give a more brief explanation?
All right, so basically in South Africa, this would be what you'd call a stupid question. As far as we're concerned, there's absolutely no ways that a person should be allowed into a voting station or a polling station if they don't have identification. I mean, imagine Black Knight, if some politician came into South Africa and said that, you know what, not showing ID when you go and vote is actually disenfranchising the voters. Imagine if people tried to sell that one year. I mean, I can just imagine. I think there'd be riots
Yeah.
if someone came out and said, listen, you don't need an ID to vote.
Yep.
Because there's one thing I can tell you now. South Africans want to know that everyone that's voting is a South African citizen.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's this argument in the States that no, you mustn't force people to show an ID at the voting station because that will disenfranchise voters. So we're going to discuss this because here in South Africa, we say, are you guys crazy? Like, are you absolutely mad? And yeah, in America, yes, people are saying that you shouldn't have to show ID. So that's what we're going to discuss.
So what is the SAVE Act? The SAVE Act, which is short for Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, is a proposed U.S. federal law introduced in the 119th Congress that would change how people register to vote in federal elections in the United States. Specifically, it would amend existing voter registration so that people must provide a documentary proof of U.S. citizenship in order to register to vote in federal elections. For example, a U.S. passport, a birth certificate, a certain type of enhanced ID, or certain types of enhanced IDs. If someone doesn't have such a documentation, states create a process where the person can submit other documents and basically sign under a penalty of perjury confirming their citizenship, and then states would be required to remove non-citizens from voter rolls and could face legal enforcement if they fail to enforce the requirements. So in simple terms, the SAVE Act, basically what the SAVE Act is that you would need to prove that you are a U.S. citizen with specific papers when you register to vote in a federal election. So that's what it is. All right. But now, and let's look at some stuff of how it differs from the current law. So right now, under federal law, people registering to vote typically just have to fill out a form and swear they're a U.S. citizen under penalty of perjury. I mean, I would vote, in South Africa.
I swear I'm South African.
I mean, I was born in South Africa.
Believe me, I'm
Yeah.
South African.
I can literally go and say I was born in South Africa. I can vote. Anyways, it continues and says there's no requirement to present original documents like a passport or birth certificate. So if the SAVE Act were enacted, that would change, making documentary proof like a passport or birth certificate mandatory before someone could be registered to federal election. And why is it controversial? So supporters say it's about ensuring only citizens vote and boosting public confidence in elections. Critics argue that it would create significant barriers to voter registrations for many people because not everyone has easy access to the required documentation and would complicates a current registration process. Not everyone has access to their ID.
You're supposed to be American. How can you not have?
Anyways, Pastor Gav and Black Knight, what are your thoughts on the SAVE Act and the controversy behind it? Just to add, another controversy behind the whole SAVE Act is that within the Republicans, all right? So Republican senators are hesitating to support the Common SAVE Act. And what are your thoughts on that?
Look, the whole thing about voter registration and stuff, and not having to present some sort of identification when you're going to vote, is definitely a policy position of the Democrat Party. Now, one of the promises that Republicans were making that I saw in the lead up to the 2024 elections was that they were going to ensure that only citizens voted. So therefore, the Republican-led Congress has actually passed a bill called this the SAVE Act, and the aim of the bill is to obviously, as you're reading now, to enforce people that they have to prove that they're a citizen. I find the whole argument structure pathetic. Obviously, there's one disadvantage that they have in the States in this regard over South Africans is that they don't have a uniform ID system.
Yeah.
So, but normally they also have this thing called Social Security. So everyone gets a Social Security number.
Yeah.
Therefore, your Social Security could form, a proof or your driver's license, because that's the other thing. People get driver's licenses, and I mean, most Americans are collecting Social Security if they're not working. The whole thing of being able to produce identification is actually a far bigger problem in South Africa than it is in the States. There's many children in South Africa that were not registered, by their parents when they were born. And so, in effect, they're ending up in a similar situation to, people that are classed as foreigners, would have. And so, we have this problem. We had this problem from the days of apartheid. And I'm just thinking, the fact that they're not getting identification means that I believe millions of votes of people that are voting in American elections are not eligible to vote because they're not citizens.
Yeah.
That is my humble opinion.
Black Knight?
I think it's in fact to even find out that this is the form of voting system that the American used to use. It's actually like mind-boggling to even think about, because it makes sense.
For us South Africans, we're thinking,
Yeah, like
no, you guys are
why
nuts.
why would you even do that?
Exactly.
Why would you make people vote and with just I swear? Do you know how many people
And
come
I
and swear with
swear.
us?
By
That's what
the
I'm saying.
moon and the
Personally, for
stars
me-
and the sky.
So it's like
I'm a
someone,
citizen.
someone like me who was born here but doesn't have
Yeah, in South
a
Africa.
green ID book.
I swear I was born.
Like I swear.
I mean, I'm not lying.
Yeah, which hospital?
South Rand.
I was born here in the south, in South Rand Hospital. I
Exactly.
swear.
You can't be South African than that.
If
Born
you
in the
understand.
South.
If
But
you
yeah, for
understand.
me it's like a crazy thing. But look at Mozambique. That's what they've been going. That they went through now with their elections, the last elections that they had, where they were finding out that people from Zimbabwe and other countries were voting in their own country. So I think it's a good thing to pass such a law, but also I feel I don't know how Gigs you're gonna feel about this, because I came across women who were also kind of against this because they get married and stuff, and then their surnames change and all of that. I don't know what's your take on that, but I also feel like it's also gonna work against them too, because
No,
they're gonna
all
get
you're proving
married.
is citizenship. Like if you've got, it's like in South Africa, if you've got citizenship, you can vote. In the same way, in America, you just need to prove that you are a citizen of America. That's all they're asking.
Oh, okay. So it
Yeah.
has, because
So
I came through those arguments and I was shocked.
So
Like,
you're not a Mexican or a
Yeah,
South African
exactly.
or a Congolese or Nigerian or Russian.
Like, you know, they've got that green card lottery that they do
Yeah.
every year. And I mean, let's say I win the lottery, I automatically get citizenship and I have a green card and I can vote. But then I can prove that I can vote. If I get married to an American man and through the marriage or whatever I get citizenship, then I can vote through that. That makes sense. Or if I get married to a foreign man as
So
an
imagine,
American,
so Gigs,
and-
imagine if you marry an American man,
yes.
but you and him live here in Joburg, then you'll be able to vote in America's elections, but not South Africa's.
South Africa. Yeah, so I think that's where the
Okay,
women are coming
think about it.
from. Yes,
That's
that's where the women
crazy.
are coming, because you can't vote in two countries. I think you
Says
can.
who?
If you've got
You can.
citizenship
No.
for both,
That's,
I've got family that's citizens in Australia and South Africa,
okay, I feel like
And-
that's cheating.
and they get
No.
fined.
That's
In
cheating.
Australia,
playing your
they,
cards right.
they don't vote because they live in South Africa, so they get fined.
Oh,
Because in Australia, if you don't vote, you get fined.
Oh, that's nice.
nice. No, it's
Yeah, they
not.
must do it to the youth here in South Africa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
So
must
I
find
think
people.
I don't know what y'all think, because I came across that as I was digging into this whole Save Act thing, that women in America actually complaining, saying that obviously they get married and then their surnames get changed, so hence why they also bring up this whole thing of getting married and not changing your surname, so that, you know, voting and stuff like that, you don't get affected by these things, because I think you also, if your surname changes and stuff, I think it does affect you. That's what I got from
Don't trust
I just
American
forgot her
feminists.
name. Yes, I just forgot her name.
I don't
but
trust
yeah.
American feminists. They don't know what they're talking about.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, because even if your surname changes, your citizenship doesn't change.
Doesn't change.
Unless you apply for a different citizenship. If the women were born in America and they can prove that they were born in America, or they can prove that they've got citizenship in America, like I think Pastor Gav mentioned the social security number. If you've got a social security number, it proves that you're in the system and that you're an American citizen, and you can vote. And
Yeah,
things.
in South Africa, we don't have a thing like social security.
Okay.
We've only got a social insecurity card. Because
Okay.
I mean,
I was not ready
if you-
for that one.
if you're not working here, you're finished.
Yeah.
You know,
So how does
you're not gonna have food.
how does ours work when you marry the woman? As a man, you're eligible to vote, and
No, we
How does
we
it
obviously we've got our ID,
okay.
and we have to go and register to vote, and we've got to go and register to vote where we live. And then if you move, you've got to change your registration. You've got to notify the Independent Electoral Commission that you've moved. And if you don't do the registration, you can't vote. And when you go to register, you've got to take your ID, your identification. You've got to take it, and you've got to and then they check your ID. They even check on the system. You know, is this ID valid? And then on top of that, on voting day, you go there. If you don't have your ID with you, then they're not going to let you vote, because they actually scan. There's a barcode on your ID. They actually scan the barcode. Plus, then they mark you, because they also want to make sure that you don't vote twice. You know, it's Barack Obama, because the fact that they don't force the ID means people in America vote more than once. Barack Obama famously, during the Donald Trump's first election campaign, when he was campaigning for the Democrats, stood up and in a campaign speech where he was supporting Hillary Clinton, made a speech where he said, "Go vote early and vote often." Yes.
Interesting.
No,
Like not once.
I mean,
just do it.
yeah, in South Africa, they even put ink on your finger.
yeah.
You know, they scan your ID. You know, it's not so easy to just go to another polling station and vote again. But Barack Obama told the Democrats, "Go vote early and vote often."
They need to
Now,
learn
now
from us.
if you have to produce ID, you can't vote early and vote often.
And then in the marriage setup, does the person get to vote? Like,
No, well,
like with let me say, if I marry Cynthia, will Cynthia now be able to vote now?
Unless
No,
they
no,
get
no.
citizenship.
No, in South Africa, if she marries you, It would take 5 years.
5 years
Yeah,
after
after-
the marriage.
Then she can become a citizen.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
Although they are changing that.
Into
Then you can apply to be invited by the Minister of Home Affairs to become a citizen.
cheating. I smell cheating.
No. In
Yeah.
other words, at the moment, after 5 years, it's automatic.
Okay.
So if the person applies, they'll get the citizenship. But what they're talking about is changing the law. That you can apply to be invited by the Minister of Home Affairs to become a citizen. So it's really tough here,
Yeah.
and I don't think many foreign nationals are voting in South Africa.
Nah.
It's
Definitely not.
I mean, the hoops you have to go through
I
to
think
vote.
already you're standing by the line. The guys will be looking at you like, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
Yes.
Like South Africans themselves will take you off the line.
No, but I mean, I was involved in observing the last elections in 2024.
Oh yes. I
And I mean, they're talking about wanting to introduce voting machines here. That just
Nope.
freaks me out.
That's.
I hope they don't.
We
Yeah.
saw what happened to Donald Trump with voting machines.
Yeah, but I
We're
mean,
fine, we're fine.
even in Canada and places like that where they got all these voting machines, I don't trust those elections.
Yeah,
We stood there at a polling station, and we watched. They show this is this party, this is this party. So every vote was shown to all the observers. So all of the political parties, all the candidates, they all had representatives there, and plus we were independent. So there were independent observers. There were observers from all the parties, and by the time the counting was finished, there was no argument about who got what votes. So I'm very confident in that the results of Saviour's elections reflect the will of the people, and now they want to introduce voting machines, and then you can't trust it. And so America's got voting machines plus people going to a polling station, and they just, I swear by the moon and the stars in the sky, that I'm a citizen, that I'm entitled to vote. So no, I mean,
Can't believe
sorry,
that's coming
Americans,
out now.
and now the Republicans promised they're going to fix this. So now they must pass a law. So the House passes the law. Now the Republican senators, because they got an even bigger majority in the Senate than in the House. Now the Republican senators are saying, forget it. And I'm saying, but what did you run on? I'm sure the average American wants to ensure that the only people that are voting are those that are eligible to vote.
Oh, that's okay. Now I understand. So you might even find this feminist movement is like from the left. They're obviously trying to fight this.
No, but the Republicans are from the right.
Exactly. That's
And now,
the
and now
issue.
they're refusing to vote for this law.
That is the issue. Yeah.
So
So-
they're a bunch of fraudsters.
What do we call them? Rhinos.
Yeah, but I mean, I wish we don't even have rhinos. I mean, here in our politics, they claim that the Democratic Alliance is right wing. And yet, the only true comment about that I heard was from previous President Thabo Mbeki's brother, Moletti Mbeki, who once said that the biggest problem the Democratic Alliance has is that their policies are so similar to that of the ANC. I mean, the Democratic Alliance in South Africa aligns themselves with the Democrat Party in America. So how can they be right wing? Anyway, that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about today. So back over to you, Gigs. You better save this one.
Yeah. So just to end off this whole conversation, so the biggest issue here is that we're having, so obviously the current administration is Republican, and but what's happening is that there are some Republican senators that believe that federal intervention in election law should be limited, and that elections should mainly be run by states, and that's basically a view that they have. So just to end it off, what are your thoughts on that? And yeah.
Look, according to the US Constitution, the elections are a state issue. The same as marriage is a state issue. Policing is a state and even a precinct issue, and it's even a local authority issue. Agreed. Education is a local issue.
Yeah.
And the power to affect all of those things rests with the people who live in whatever area. That part I agree with. But surely the federal government is duty bound to say that only US citizens can vote in any election. I mean, that's all we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So now some states come along, and they even wanting to include in their census the people that are there illegally, like California and places like that. So they want the illegals to count in the census and that affects how many representatives they're going to have in the U.S. House of Representatives. So this is the situation that we sit in here. I mean, they're now even they rigging the system in terms of how many votes each state gets in Congress. So for me, the Republicans that are saying this, that's just a scam, and they're not standing up for what people voted them in for.
Exactly. Black Knight, final thoughts?
I think I also, obviously, because I'm South African, so I'll definitely fall on the fact that I think the government, the feds, should kind of be involved in terms of the ID checkings and stuff like that with the voting. And in fact, I think with the voting, the feds should be like fully involved. And
No. Now you're going against the Constitution. The Constitution says it has to be a local matter. So I'm
Yes,
fine with that.
I think
the
locals.
the
you see,
determination of whether someone is a citizen or not is not a local issue.
yeah, but
That's a
locals,
federal issue.
But when it comes to the voting, I think with what she just read now, in terms of the voting, if the feds should be like fully involved or not involved. Looking at it, citizens will want different. Like citizens will have sympathy towards other people and think that they should. I think they'll just be humans. In fact, they won't see the overall like country. You know what I mean? So I think like the feds, that's where the government should kind of be involved, making sure that I'll listen to South
The USA.
the USA people vote and stuff like that, because I think like people will just be people and have sympathy towards other people, not thinking of the country as a
Yeah,
whole.
but there's just one problem.
What's
You have
that?
to change the entire U.S. Constitution to
For
make
that.
that happen.
That's
Now,
crazy.
but what I am saying, according to the U.S. Constitution, whether a person, is a citizen or not, is determined by the federal government. The same as the U.S. military is federal. The U.S. federal government commands it. And, the federal government, I believe, should have the power to dictate that only U.S. citizens can vote in any U.S. election at any level, because the citizenship, to be a citizen or not to be a citizen, is something that's determined by the federal government, not local and state governments.
Yeah. And in 1 Corinthians 14 verse 40, it says, "Let all things be done decently and in order."
Yeah, and American elections are not done in order. And I mean, there is widespread fraud. And that is one thing I'm proud of being a South African. I think our elections are far more honest. We might not like the choice we make as a people when we look at the people in power and how much money they steal and all of those sorts of things. And there's deep holes in the roads. There used to be potholes. Now it's like a pot valley, if you know what I'm saying. Pot canyon. We got to, I drive through pot canyons to get to work every day, if you know what I'm saying. Literally just down the road, there's a couple of pot canyons there. But the thing is there is no order. And the lack of order has been abused by people that often have evil intentions. And so they are looking to reshape the entire American political landscape, the entire legal landscape, and the entire nation illegally. And therefore, looking at that, America was born out of a Christian ethos. And I think that many of America's problems that exist today come as a result of the fact that they've gone away from that ethos. And so if people are not going to be honest about whether they're citizens or not, then you've got to restrict things to prevent those that are not citizens from voting, because that's something that's an inalienable right to a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
And if people want to become citizens, they should go through the legal process to become a citizen. And in my view, it's probably a lot easier to become a citizen of the United States of America than to become a citizen of the Republic of South Africa. And I'm sure Gigs will agree.
We know from experience. This has been an amazing show right here on Active FM. Radio has never been better. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm your girl Cynthia, but you know you can call me Gigs. And with me in studio we've had
Gavin Inston.
Pastor Gavin Insland and
The
Black Knight right here on the Political Show, where Christ politics is
Hot politics.
hot politics.